where we're talking about interviews. Now, a lot of people didn't participate in the attendance assignment. That cannot be made up. That is lost. And but there was a commonality among the consensus with people that answer the question about the question you dislike the most. And one thing, though, I do want to point out, always be honest. Don't hold back on that honesty and don't try to second guess what the interviewer is asking. Don't go thinking that, well, I'm not going to ask honestly because then that's not what they want to hear. Okay, if you're on the other side of the table, you can tell if the person's editing their answers. Okay, it's like how many of you have ever been talking to somebody and you know they're holding back or they're not telling you the whole truth? How many people have had these conversations of any type with somebody and you know they're not giving you the whole story? Jessica's got it. She's the only person that's ever had a conversation you know the person's not telling you the whole story. Okay, I want to do a quick emoji check. Have everybody do an emoji? Matthew got it. Okay, Devontae, you out there? Travis, you out there? Robert, you out there? Okay. The reason why I'm asking is remember when you're doing those interviews, the first impressions, those little nuances where you're watching for that eye contact, you're watching the way the person stands. When you're talking to that person, they're watching every move you make. And when you start editing those answers, your body language is going to reflect that. Answer 100% honestly. Don't try to second guess what that interviewer is going for or try to answer the way they want you to. Okay, everybody got that? Answer your true self. Because if you don't, you're going to come across fake, phony, and they're going to trigger that, and you are out of there. Second guessing what they're asking you for, you could be way off. Okay. The other one that everyone is, what's your biggest weakness? Okay. Everybody has weaknesses, areas where they're not as strong. One of the things I like to do is I like to turn that around and say, my biggest weakness is I want to learn more. I'm never happy with my current level of training or education. So I will always want more from my employer to allow me to move up. You see what I did there? How many people saw that? I turned that around and said, I want more from my employer to push me ahead. I'm not saying I'm a bad employee. I'm saying I want more to keep moving forward. That's an honest thing. How many people want to move up? They want more. They want to get ahead. That's an honest answer. You want to move ahead. How many people want to get into that career and they want to move up? Jenna does. Daniel does. Rest of you, you want to get into that job? And okay, Randy does. I can say, yeah, you can get into that job and at the pay you're at now, stay there for 20, 30 years. You don't want to move up? Okay, now Jose's waking up. Yeah, otherwise, you're going to find it very hard when you're up there towards your, retirement age and you have not advanced at all.
I'm here. I just don't like to react a lot.
What was that? I'm sorry, my headphone wasn't up quite as loud.
I said I'm here. I just don't like to react a lot.
That's quite all right. Just look for those emojis. That way you don't have to answer. That's a little bit easier for the shy folks. There you go. Perfect. I can see that right on the screen. Okay, so the reason why I'm saying this is because you have to plan ahead. And a lot of times people are thinking right here, I've got my job now. Okay, but companies are predatory. They will buy each other out just to shut them down. Okay. And then you're going to have to go on and you're going to have to interview again, or you want to move up and you have to interview again. Or some companies, every year or so, they will make you re interview. they're going to reevaluate. This has become common too because employees are now switching jobs too often. Companies are like, okay, if you're going to switch on us, we're going to reevaluate you every year and see if we want to retain you. So getting used to these questions. Another thing you can say, um, my biggest weakness is that I recognize that I do have weaknesses and I put a lot of effort into them, but I always am so hard on myself. I don't always recognize that I have achieved the goals that I need to. So you're saying I recognize that I do have weaknesses, I correct them, but then I don't give myself the credit for it, meaning you're too hard on yourself. That is a weakness there. I'm so hard on myself and I don't give myself credit. So a weakness doesn't mean that you have a bad skill set. Okay, so everybody recognize that. It doesn't mean you do something wrong or you do something bad. You know, I give too much to the company that I work for, and sometimes I throw my life balance off. These are all things that can be considered weaknesses, but it doesn't mean that, okay, my TIG welding skills are not as good as they should be. That's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for you to trash that interview. Okay. A couple people are still having issues with that. Tell me a little bit about yourself. That assignment that we're doing, and I haven't graded those yet. I'm going to grade them pretty much all at one time, is that elevator pitch. Okay. Do that elevator pitch. That always answers it. That's why we have you do that. All right. Everybody good with those? If you didn't do that, you missed out on a good thing there, recognizing your weaknesses. Okay. If you don't recognize your weaknesses, everybody else does. Okay. None of us have Oscar winning performances. People see through them. I repeatedly tell you, be honest because everybody around you sees through the lies. So if you're lying, people are seeing through it and they're recognizing it. Okay. We are not fooling anybody. That's why I try to be as honest with you as possible, because I know you would see through it if I am not telling the truth. All right, everybody got that? Honest, honest? Yes, yes. Looking for those emojis. All right, because that is what will get you ahead in the long run. Short term, they might let it go and you think you've got them fooled, but they could also be setting you up. Again, don't try to second guess uh, anybody in those interviews. All right. Okay, so let me do some screen sharing here so we can get to getting. So here we are on our main page. And I'm going to start off with the home screen here. Maybe. There we go. Turn it into the student view so it's like the way you're used to seeing it. So here we are in week 2. Now, I want to point something out in week 2 here because next week, it's really important to stay up to date because on Friday of next week, I open up the final week's assignments early. Can you believe that? That's how close we are to finishing. Well, I know we're only midterm, but yeah, this class moves fast. So here we are on Wednesday. Your assignment for today here is your informational interview. Remember, last week you told me who you were going to interview. This week, you're doing that interview. As far as then, you're writing down the information. You had a whole week to talk to the person you said. You could have talked to them on the phone. You could have texted them. You could have emailed back and forth with the questions. Now's the time to deliver the goods. You click Start Assignment. You come down here. You can upload a Word document or whatever you put it on, or you can click Text Entry and type it in here and submit that assignment. Things that you need to do, make sure you include the name of the person. not just their first name, their first and last name. You talk to this person, you should know who they are, the position they hold. What did you learn? What information did you gain? The questions you asked them, what were their responses? Okay, should be 250 words at least. If you ask them any type of question, you're going to hit that 250 words easily. It does not take long to hit 250 words. Okay, you must have the name and occupation of the person. You're going to lose 10% right off if you do not. Okay, you must have these questions. Okay, how are you going to add this into your career? This is information you learn directly about your career. Okay, how many people are networking? I asked this before. How many people are networking? You're out there learning from people. Some of you are. This is networking. This is to develop that skill because you're going to network everywhere you go. Okay, I know Jenna's in animal care. She volunteers out there somewhere. That is incredible. I go to places like SeaWorld. I go to Busch Gardens. I go to Animal Kingdom over at Disney and that. I talk to the people. I end up backstage at every one of those attractions. I have seen every one of their animal care areas. Um, I've worked with Dr. K, who does the Nat Geo show. I've worked with the Gator Boys. I have worked with so many incredible people in animal care throughout my life. And you have to network to get in touch with these people. Okay. You have to network. That's what it takes. Okay. You go to any of the big conventions or welding, you go to them for electrical, you go to their trade groups. This is where you learn about the companies themselves, who's good, who's not. You learn different skills, you learn who to talk to. This is how you get the ins on the best positions. So this is why it's so important. Write your information in, click submit assignment. Make these things work for you. Develop these skills because they are going to be there throughout your career. If you think I've got my job, I don't have to worry about, what do you do if that company messes up financially and they go under? Think for the future, not the here and now, the future. That's why that question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? How many people hate that question? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Okay. We ask you to do that long-term goal. Well, on a personal level, I want to buy that house. I want to be financially stable. I don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. You need to think about this. What do you do if that company you're working for doesn't exist in 5 years? What are you going to do? How do you get your next job? So that's why you plan ahead. Okay. Those things do happen. Now, tomorrow we're going to have a guest speaker. We're going to have Princess Phillips here from the Orlando Career Services. She's going to talk to us. She's going to be doing uh, most of the live section. You have your submit your signed resume. Click on that. This should be a no issue item. If you've had your career services appointment, you will upload this. Okay. Now, how many people have scheduled that, but they won't have this done by tomorrow? Okay. You have it scheduled, but your appointment's going to be later. It won't be done by tomorrow. Okay. So those of you who have scheduled, I've got your scheduled date, so I know this. So this is going to be extended for those, but you have to have them. How many people scheduled an appointment, but they weren't able to put that appointment date in that assignment? Anybody fall into that category? If you fall into that category, email or text me that appointment date and I will put that in your assignment if you happen to miss it. Okay. So that we get that. That's 200 points. Okay. Getting that done. And so that impacts you. Okay. So we want to make sure you get that done. Very important to have that resume. That resume is your foot in the door and makes you speak. And then the midterm exam, you click on this. Oh, I wonder why it's not letting me in. Let me check something. Up, hold on. Let me edit this. There is a problem here with this midterm. Let me see what's going on. Available from November 4th. Okay. This until date is incorrect. This should be the 10th and the due date. Da, da, da. Is actually the 7th. There we go. And let me go back here. So apparently no one did try to go in there, or I would have got a little email, I'm sure. So let's click on the, oops, let me put it back in student mode. Or I'm sure somebody would let me know that that did not work. Okay, so click on the midterm. It's going to tell you which chapters, 1, 2, 3, 7, and 10. These are all in the study guide. 25 questions. This used to be over 40, so we've reduced it. You have one attempt. Do not go in here and then think you're going to back out as you're looking at the questions. They are randomly generated. Hopefully, you'll get mostly matching or multiple choice, like you see here. You may get some short answers. Type these in. Now, it's not uncommon for you to finish and your grade isn't as high as you want. Don't panic, okay? I have to go back through anyway and manually check because some of the questions that are auto graded here, I don't necessarily like the wording of the question, and I can see where it might be confusing and you might still get the points. Everybody understand that? Your first grade that you see on the final may not be your last, okay? The other thing, those of you in week 1 that did that bonus points, you're going to get 5 points added on to whatever grade you have. That's almost a half a grade up. Okay, so if you had a high C, now you're going to a B. You have a high B, you're going to an A. So it was worth it. And no, if you didn't do that bonus points, that's not made something you can make up. You know, you have time limits, just like if you had schedules that you had to follow at work, limited time offer. So you come in here, you just check off the individual answers. Do not leave anything blank, even if it's a fill-in answer and you don't think you know the answer, put something in there because this is a 4-point question. If you have it partially right, you might get anywhere from 1 to 4 points on it. Answer it best you can. All the answers are in that study guide that I will show you again. But if you Google this question, please understand that students before you have put incorrect answers out there. And sometimes those are the most popular answers that come up in the search because people have repeatedly selected the wrong answer. We've seen these answers come up over and over and over, and the more people select the wrong answer, the more it comes up as the most popular answer in the Google search. Use the study guide to get the information. All right? Everybody got that? Be careful if you're trying to do a Google search. Also, make sure that if you cut and paste an answer in here, you get the whole answer. Sometimes I get a partial sentence because the person didn't paste the whole thing. The other one is make sure not only does it answer the question, it answers it in relationship to this class. Does everybody understand how to do this midterm? Okay, this midterm, I'm not seeing emojis. There we go. This midterm, if you miss it and you do not finish it before the close at Sunday at 11:59, it cannot be made up. this cannot qualify for an extension. That is not my rule. That is a school rule, okay? Monday, when I send those grades out, anybody that falls below the 65% threshold will have to have a session with the campus to see what is going on and why their grade has dropped, okay? I'm not believing that anybody will fall below that because everybody will be doing awesome and the grades will be reflective of that. All right? Okay. So that is that midterm there. And that will round out that week. And remember, under this big red help button, there is that midterm study guide right there. You click on that. Those of you who like to go through the modules, that is still available under the modules as well. There's the help right there, that little help there. And when you click it, it's going to take you to the same screen. There's the study guide. Okay, everybody good so far? We're rolling. I know some people are tired. They stayed up all last
Hey,
night.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Yes. The question?
Are you gonna be grading on the spelling?
No. No, 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 no. And that's one of the things because the autograder tries to grade your short answers. And if you misspell things, it automatically counts it as wrong. So that's the other reason. I go through every question and anything it counts wrong, I check and see why it counted wrong. So you could have it misspelled really bad, but I understand what you mean. You're going to get the points. Okay. And if something is counted wrong and you think you should have got it right, drop me a line. I'll go back and review it just to make sure that I didn't miss something that you thought that I needed to take a look at. Communication is key in this class. Anything you think I missed, call me out on it. I will go check. Everybody makes mistakes. I included. So if you think I missed something, let me know. I'll go back and check. And if I missed something, I'll tell you I missed this. Boom. All right. You have a voice in this class, use it. Okay, nothing is set in stone, but if you didn't do something or something doesn't come out right, and I'll tell you this is what's going on, I'm being honest with it and I'll give you options, okay? But if you cut me off and say, I'm not doing this or this or this, I have no options available for you. All right? Good question there, Jenna. Thank you. Any other questions on any of these assignments so far? This Sunday will be the final day for anything from week 1. So if you miss something in week 1, Sunday is the final cutoff because Southern Tech only allows us to give extensions for 1 week after the original due date. Okay? All right. So here we go. Let me get my iPad over here. And we're going to continue on from where we were yesterday. With part 2. Now, it's not a sequel, so it's not like, oh, part 2 is not as good as the first one. It's a continuation. Make sure my pencil's working. Yay! All right. So here we go. So when you have that interview and you are coming back to see them, always make sure you are 15 minutes there before time, okay? So think that you need to do. Think about traffic, weather, and other delay factors. This can be a big issue in this area as there's a lot of construction going on everywhere. And make sure you know exactly where you need to be. Some of these places have multiple buildings that are on the property. Know which building it is. Know which floor, okay? Make sure you've made all that clear when you talk to the person who has arranged it and know who you're going to see and their number. Okay, make sure you know their number so that if you get there and the person that you see behind the desk or wherever has no idea who you're talking to or talking about, you can call them and say, I'm in the lobby, blah, 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 because you might still be in the wrong building or something else has gone on. Okay? Make sure you know their visitor protocol. Where do I park? Do I have to tell the person I have a meeting? Do I have a code? Do I have to park across the street? Will I get parking validated? That means I'm going to get a parking ticket. They're going to give me something to put on that ticket so that when I leave or whatever, so I don't have to pay for parking. What do I need in order to be able to do this successfully? Okay. Last thing you want to do is get your car towed in an interview. Okay. Now, how many people have had them walk you out to your car after the interview? Anybody ever say, I'll walk you out after your interview? Sometimes people are real polite. They will do this. Okay. If you ever have this, just give you a heads up here. Sometimes they do this because they literally are checking for car seats in your car. Okay. And you may ask why, but this is very unethical. Car seats indicate children. You have children. Children tend to get sick, and you may be missing work to tend with your sick children. This could knock you out of running in an interview. Okay? Be mindful of these things. They could also be checking to, they're kind of judging. Will you be able to get back and forth? Is that reliable transportation? Be aware of these things. You can say, no, I'm good. I'll walk myself out. The other thing, pictures on desks. Do not comment on them. Don't say, oh, I have a daughter too. Oh, I have a child too. Don't comment on those pictures. Those are, again, another way to get you to reveal more information than you should. Keep your conversation in that interview related to that interview. All right? Your personality will come through enough. You don't have to add, you don't stray. Don't get, you know, a little bit of diarrhea of the mouth. Don't run off topic trying to become chummy. Some people think they're going to schmooze their way. You're not that good. I'm not that good. We're not that good. They are not your friend. That's not the way to get it. You will get a good vibe and a relation with the information you need. You don't have to go above and beyond and embellish. Does everybody understand that? Sometimes the biggest problem we have with these interviews, we're adding too much. Okay? Don't add too much. Everybody understand, don't add too much and don't stray. All right? Everybody hearing that, because I guarantee you, we have people in this class. Part of the problem isn't what you're saying, is you're saying too much. You're giving too much information. All right? Now, virtual interviews. This class helps set you up for that because you're getting used to working with technology, okay? Now, when you do that virtual interview, you do it a lot the same way. You dress the same. Sometimes those cameras show a little bit more than what you want. Make sure what's in the background is clear. Try to do it up against a wall or a very neutral background. You don't want people walking around behind you. You don't want things in your background that could be embarrassing. You don't want kids, adults, whatever showing up. You don't want them to be heard. Okay? Make sure you have sent them your resume, you've sent them their references, anything that they need before the interview. And you have a copy in front of you so that if they reference it, you can look at it immediately and know what they're talking about. Don't go by memory alone. Have a copy in front of you. And don't say, wait, let me go get that. All right? Now, telephone, be ready by the phone. Make sure, again, no background noise. Sit up straight. That's going to make you enunciate. That's the way you project your voice better. Smile. Smile on those calls. They can hear it in your voice. It's going to come through. Treat it the same as a face-to-face interview. Just because it's on a phone doesn't make it any less important. You still want that position. There's a reason why they're doing it this way. Then they might bring you in more for a physical face-to-face. Make sure you have stuff to take notes with, and make sure the area you are in is quiet. Don't try to do it while you're driving, things like that. I've had people try that. Now, make sure if you have to do a Zoom, a Team, Skype, or other ones, you have the proper equipment. You've got that camera, you've got that microphone, you've got everything. Now, some of us are camera shy. Anybody camera shy out here? I should be seeing a lot of responses because I know you're camera shy.
Somewhat.
I get it. Okay. I am one of the few instructors that teaches online that puts my camera on. Okay. My thought is if we are in the classroom, would you all be sitting there with bags over your heads? You would be sitting there side by side, just like we are in a regular classroom, but we turn the camera on and now it's different. You are still the same person, okay? Just look at the camera like you would anybody else. So if they ask you to do that, don't shy away. Just look at that camera like you're talking to anybody else, okay?
Is that okay?
Okay. Your microphone's on, just so you're aware. I don't know if you have a question there. There you go. Okay, so look at the camera. It gets you getting used to. My first time having to teach with a camera, absolutely horrendous. So practice that and just know that it's no different than them sitting in front of you. It's just you got a little black box or whatever. So it gets getting used to. Just in case, because a lot of these places are doing video interviews before in-person ones. Now, there's 3 types of questions that they can type or ask you: general, behavioral, and stress. Okay? General ones, they're going to ask you these to find out a little bit more about you. And there's that dreaded one. Can you tell me about yourself? You have your elevator pitch, no sweat. Then they're going to ask you about what jobs you've held. Some people don't want to talk about jobs that aren't related to their current one. Don't hold back. Tell them about the jobs you've had, starting with the ones most relevant to the position, then the other ones, because there's skills you've learned at those other positions that relate to the current ones. Your customer relations, your teamwork, your conflict management. Remember, those are the soft skills that transfer from position to position. What interested you most? Okay, everybody knows you want a job and you want money. Okay, everybody knows that. Why else would you be there? But you have done research. Remember, you need to research the company beforehand, right? Everybody remember this? Research those companies first. How many remember me saying research first? Okay, so those 2 parts right here, what interested you most? Well, I see you've been growing over the past 10 years. I want to be in a company that's going to be able to hire me and promote me. Okay. What is your major strength? Remember when I asked you to tell me what sets you above the other people, the other competitors? Remember that question? And you thought it was just a weird little question for the daily attendance. How many people remember that question? Boom. What is your major strength? That is a big question people want to know. You do that self-evaluation. You need to know what your major strengths are. And technology. I tell you, know what you know. Anybody remember me telling you that? Know what you know and know what you don't know. How many people remember this? Because I've said it more than one time. There we go. Got a few people. Now, this is something that's disturbing here. I will go into the weld shop and I'll ask people, what's the name of this machine? What's the name of this machine? What's the name of this machine? And they don't know. They can use it, but they don't know the name of the machine. I'll go into the lab and I'll ask the vet assistant, what's this? And they don't know what a centrifuge is, but they might be able to use it. You need to know the names of the equipment you're using, okay? Electricians don't know how to use an ohm meter. They don't know how to test for circuits. You need to know because they are going to use the proper technology and names for things in those interviews. How many people are ready to answer questions on the names and technology in their careers? Are y'all ready for that? Nobody's ready to answer questions about their career? Okay, some of y'all are. Okay, during those mock interviews, you will be asked about your career specific questions. This is what's going to happen when you go to interview, okay? And the difference with a career, okay? This is going to be a starting salary range and it's going to go all the way up to here, okay? When they ask you questions, are you going to fall in here or are you going to fall in here? Okay? The more skills and the better you are at talking and promoting yourself, that's going to determine your pay scale. Everybody doesn't get hired at the same dollar amount. Okay? It's negotiable. Okay? The other thing are behavioral questions. These come from previous experience and decisions. Okay, things like describe a time when you missed an opportunity to provide the best possible service. Notice this doesn't have anything to necessarily do with what you're going to do on the day-to-day. Okay, I can tell you one. Working in the veterinary clinic, I was helping a customer with prescription dog foods for their dog. Another customer came in. I continued to help this customer. What I should have done was told the one I was with, give me 1 second, walked over to the second one and said, I'll be right with you. Please look around and I'll be back, and went back to the first one. But I didn't. I stayed just with the first one and let that other person just wander around. That was a missed opportunity. I could have done better, but I didn't. To be honest, I really didn't feel like it. 100%. I did not feel like it. I just wanted to deal with the one person I wanted to deal with, get them done, get them out, and then go over. But I could have done better looking back. Okay? Describe a situation where you need to be creative in order to help a customer with a problem. Well, it wasn't exactly a customer, but we had a bald eagle come in with a gunshot wound. We stitched up the wound and everything, got it stabilized, but we had to keep the bald eagle from picking at it. So, you know how we put cones on dogs. You can't do that with an eagle because they'll rip the cone apart. So we took an old CD, we took a router, we cut out the center of the CD, and we stuck the eagle's head through the CD. And so it was Duran Duran's greatest hits, not a big loss. And we put its head through that. Eagle couldn't chew through the CD, and that's how we solved that. So that was a creative situation. So behavioral questions will ask you on what you did. Now, I want you to pay attention closely to these two different types of situations. These are stress questions. And stress questions are going to ask you to do just that, stress you out. Okay, these have nothing to do necessarily with the job, but they're going to ask you questions to make you think on the spot and put you in stress. Okay, now Hypothetical. These are imagined situations, okay? Let's say the following happens. Boom, okay? It's job related, and they want you to say, this is what's going on. How would you handle it? That's hypothetical, okay? Now, how many people have ever heard of blue sky questions or blue sky situations? Anybody ever heard that term? Okay, so blue sky has nothing to do with your job at all. They'll ask you questions like, say you're on a boat and the boat's sinking, how would you get everybody off? And you're like, what? What does that have to do with anything I'm going to be doing? That's what's called a blue sky question. And that's the difference between them. Hypothetical will be job related. Blue sky, they just pull it out of nowhere. And both of them are designed to stress you out. Okay. Now, illegal questions. They can't ask you about your age. They can't ask you about your disability. They can't ask you about ethnicity or national origin. They can't ask you about your gender. They can't ask you about your marital or family status, and they can't ask you about your religion. You can politely decline, okay? But here's the real deal. Florida is a right to work state. How many people know that Florida is right to work? You've heard this. Florida is right to work.
What does
Okay.
that mean?
Okay. So what that means is in Florida, you can be fired at any time without warning and without cause. No reason. At any point, they can walk up and say, we're letting you go. No reason whatsoever. They don't have to give a reason. You can be doing your job 100% perfect, and they just come up, we're letting you go. Okay? But how many people have seen a handbook on their job? You're given an employee handbook, or you're asked to sign for one of those. Okay, at most places you get a handbook, employee rules, things like that, and you have to sign for it. Okay, how many people read them? I know I don't. I have to sign them every year. I never read them all. I guarantee you I don't read them. Okay, but what that is that's a contract. Okay, and that contract is going to help you out. And I believe it's in this set of things. So I'll come back to this because I think we cover it here. If not, I'll talk about that a little bit more. So while you're in there, ask questions. Okay, you've researched them and ask questions. Who will I report to? Notice I said that. Who will I report to? What hours will I work? Okay, tell me about the company culture and how will the teamwork uh, be among the employees, okay? How will my professional development and education go? Will you offer me this? Okay, notice everything is, will you do this? Boom. Will this happen? Will this? Because what you're doing is you're telling them you're going to do this once you hire me. How many people ask questions in the interview? How many people actually ask questions? Okay. Always ask questions. It lets them know that you're interested. And engaged. One of the best ways is they'll tell you something, and then when they ask, or later on, you say, you explained this and this. Can you tell me more about this? Okay, so what you're saying is, I heard you, but I'd like to have more information. What you do not ask, what is the salary? How many other candidates will you interview? May I come back and talk about this again? What did you think about the interview? Are you going to hire me? Do not ask these questions. Okay? No, no, no. Do not ask about those. Okay? You'll find out salary and things like that when they are making the job offer. Okay? Or it is listed in the job listing. You do not ask these things. Okay? What you can ask is, what is the next step? Okay? Much different. What is the next step? Okay. So the night before the interview, practice your questions that you're going to ask, and you can also do a mock interview. This is why we do this, because we want you to be prepared. This is how you find out exactly what you're going to be doing. Okay? Make sure you have your outfit ready. Don't be trying to scramble, because you might end up running late and now you're trying to get everything together. Make sure all your resumes and everything are ready to go. Have multiple copies. Not, I need to make copies on the way. Okay? Know how you're going to get there early, and have plenty of sleep. Okay, so the slide that I was looking for doesn't show up. So going back to your handbook. So when you sign that handbook, you're actually signing a contract. Everything in that handbook is a contract, and it is binding and it is legal. And part of that contract in there will usually say that they have to do a written or oral warning, usually oral warning first, then written. And there could be like 1, 2, and 3 written warnings, and then suspension, and then firing. Okay. A lot of your contracts are like that in your employee handbook. If that is in there, that supersedes or overrides Florida's right to work. Okay? That contract protects you. That handbook protects you. They cannot just walk up and say, you're fired, unless it is a gross negligence. They would have to tell you what you're doing wrong first. Then they would have to put it in writing, and they may have to do 3 of them. Then they might have to suspend you, and then they could fire you, all depending on what's in that handbook. Does everybody understand that? Otherwise, if you do not have something in your employee rules at your place of work, they do not have to give you a reason to let you go. That is any right to work state, and Florida is one of those. Okay? We do not have those protections here unless it's in your employee rules and regulations. All right? And one of the things that I want you to think about when you go to get hired at a place, there's more to it than the money. Okay? We all want the income, but there's more to it. You need to think about, how far will you have to commute? Will you have to drive? Can you get there? What are the hours? If they have multiple locations, will I get transferred to one of those and now I have to go to that? How many sick days? How many vacation days? Do I have insurance? What will that insurance cost me? There are many things to think about before you agree to that position or take it over another one. That single dollar amount, even though it might be a little bit better at one place, may actually cost you more than taking a lower dollar amount someplace else. Okay, does everybody see how you have to evaluate one place over another? So today, I want you to name 3 things you're looking for in a company for your career, and money cannot be one of them. So I want you to think of 3 things besides the money, because we all need the money. We know that. We can't pay our bills and get by without that. That's a given. So think of 3 things you're looking for. All right? So that's always a hard thing, trying to do that evaluation. What is it that I have to make it? Because we all have the things that we need. You know, is it medical insurance? Is it dental insurance? Do I have to have certain hours? Do I have to have certain days? What is it that I need for me and my family? Any questions? We're good? Yes, yes? See those thumbs up? We're good? All right. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. We will have our guest speaker, and she'll be with us and she'll be helping us out. We will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.